Hello, everyone. Welcome to the chapter Knowledge is Power by Yuval Noah Harari. This chapter is taken from a famous book called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, published in 2011. The book was actually written in Hebrew language and was translated into English. Later, it was translated into Malayalam as well, a bestseller. Harari is a philosopher and historian from Israel. This chapter discusses about the relationship between science and technology. This is the cover of the book. Here is a picture of the author, Yuval Noah Harari. The book deals with the history of human beings, the history of humankind, from their emergence to the present day, from the very beginning of humankind to the present day. And what is the topic of this chapter? I have told you that this chapter is taken from this book by Harari. What is the topic of this chapter? Harari says all technology were not produced by scientific research. Some inventions were made by uneducated people. You might have observed that all inventions were not done by scientists. Sometimes some people who are not educated, they will be inventing certain things. So all technology were not produced by scientific research, by scientists. Some inventions were or are made by uneducated people. Today, scientific research and technology are mostly used for developing war weapons. Author explains how science and technology are made used in wars. See, we have a belief that science and technology are for the benefit of human beings. It should be so. However, in our modern world, science and technology are mostly used for developing weapons. It is an irony, isn't it? So, before going into the text, let us define two important terms used in the chapter, that is, science and technology. You are familiar with these words, science and technology, right? Let us try to define them. Science. Science is the systematic study of behavior of physical and natural world. Science is the systematic study, a step-by-step study, a systematic study of the behavior of physical and natural world around us. While technology is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes. For example, you are familiar with Newton's third law. For every action in nature, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is a scientific fact. If you apply this scientific principle to make a rocket, it is technology. Applying scientific principle for practical purposes, it is technology. See, a rocket is a force on rocket, the reaction, then force on hot gas, it's an action, and the rocket moves forward. See, this is the principle behind rocket. So rocket is a technological a technology, and it makes use of the scientific fact, that is, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So hope you understood the difference between science and technology. Now let us go into the chapter. I will give the text on one side of the page and the summary on the other side. You can pause the video and read the text, then listen to the summary and explanation. Or you can read the first paragraph on the text and then listen to the explanations. This is para 1 given here. I won't be reading the text. You can pause the video or you can read from the text, the first paragraph. I will read the explanation only. The language of science is not easy to understand. It is not easy to understand the language of science. It makes use of the mathematical, scientific terminology, especially for common public. People do not understand terms like quantum mechanics, macroeconomics, etc. But everyone knows one thing, that science is very powerful, isn't it? The ruler of the country may not understand nuclear physics, but they know the effect of nuclear bomb. That is, one may not understand the scientific principle, but they will be using a scientific equipment easily. See, you are not familiar with mobile phone technology. However, you are using it. So that is the idea behind the first paragraph. That is, scientific language is not accessible to all, but we make use of science in day-to-day affairs. Explanation of para 2. You might have heard the famous quote, knowledge is power. It is said by Francis Bacon, the famous British writer and philosopher. He said, you can test knowledge by evaluating whether it makes us powerful. Do not inquire whether the knowledge is true or not. Instead, evaluate whether that knowledge makes us powerful, says Francis Bacon. So, Francis Bacon is of the opinion that you shouldn't inquire whether a knowledge is true or not. Instead, evaluate whether that knowledge makes you powerful. That is what said by the famous British philosopher and writer Francis Bacon. So this is a book written by Francis Bacon. It is called Novum Organum, or it is called the New Instrument. So the idea I have said before in the para 2, that is, uh, we should evaluate knowledge by whether it should make us as powerful. It is said by Francis Bacon in his book Novum Organum, or the New Instrument. Coming to para 3. Science has given us many tools, mental tools, technological tools, etc. Today, most people confuse between science and technology. Some people think both are same. We have already defined science and technology, right? You might have understood that. All technological devices are not invented after scientific research. This also we have discussed earlier. Sometimes uneducated workers may invent some useful technological devices. So this is a picture of Thomas Alva Edison. You might have heard his name. He invented many things like sound recorder, light bulb, motion pictures, etc. Remember this, he did not attend any technical schools, colleges, or universities. He was self-educated. So there are people like that. Explanation of para 4. It was Francis Bacon who connected science and technology. Before that, nobody tried to connect science and technology. As time moved on, the relationship between science and technology became tight. In ancient period, people never thought about applying science to invent new things. Rulers wanted big armies, but they did not encourage scientific research to make new weapons. They were ignorant about the possibilities of science. So today we are living in a world in which we are ruled by technology. So every scientific principle is used for making some kind of technology these days. But however, in ancient days it was not so. People were ignorant about the capability of science to make technology. Ancient rulers wanted big armies, but they never thought about applying their scientific knowledge to create weapons. So, para 5. There are exceptions. But if you study history, you can see that majority of ancient rulers did not encourage science to create technological devices. Similarly, businessmen also did not think about applying scientific knowledge to create devices which will improve their business. Rulers gave support to education, but they were not aware of the capability of science. So the idea is same as the idea that we discussed in the previous paragraph, that ancient rulers or ancient businessmen, they never thought about applying science to make their life easier. They were not aware of it. Then para 6. Occasionally, some devices were invented, but they were not done by educated scientists, but some skilled workers. For example, the invention of wheels. Some workers improved the design of carts. You can see the picture of a cart, but uh, such inventions were not made by scientists, but they were done by uh, uneducated people. So we have seen up to para 6. We are stopping the first lesson here. We have explained the first 6 paragraphs. The main points that we discussed today are: 1. Science means the study of physical and natural world. 2. Technology means applying scientific principle to make a device. In ancient era, people were not aware about the capability of science to create technological devices. Some inventions were there, but they were done by uneducated workers. You can see here the picture of a wheel discovered by some ancient people. So they were not uh, scientific experts, but they were common workers. Hope you understood the points discussed in this lesson. We will continue the chapter in the next lesson. Thank you.